You know how companies have competitors, and since they're competing, they make themselves better by trying to be better than each other? There is a tank that was made because of a situation kind of like that. This is the Merkava, or chariot in English. It was created not because it was wanted, but because it was needed. And I'll tell you why. Here's a tank you might know already. This is the M4 Sherman, and I know exactly what you're thinking. Simplest, why are you showing me this insanely outdated masterpiece that can barely penetrate a slice of cheese with its ancient 76mm M1 gun used mainly in 1944? I know those were your I'm showing you this M4 because this is what the Israeli army used to consist of, along with some other World War era tanks from both the French and British. The M4 used to be their MBT. Speaking of Britain, they play an important role in the creation of the Merkava, so make sure you keep them in that part of your mind that's kind of black and empty, which for some people may just be your whole. Still, the M4 was used by Israel for a decent bit, despite being outdated. In fact, they had a colorful collection of tanks during the 1960s and even the 1970s. Which consisted of American, French, and British tanks, as stated earlier. Of course, they did what they could to modernize the tanks that they bought, including the M4, so it was not useless when defending their country, but deep down, it was still just a Sherman from the World War II era. At the time, Israel was, and still is, constantly defending itself from the neighboring Arab nations that hate it so much. The tanks it used for defending itself were, of course, M4 Shermans, British Centurions, and French AMX-13s. These tanks were quickly becoming outdated, and Israel knew that. But it's okay guys, because Britain agreed to supply Israel with some shiny new chieftains. Just kidding. Britain does not want to sell tanks to Israel anymore, as they are afraid it could damage their relationships with the Arab nations that had oil which Britain needs. It's alright, France can still be their #1 supplier. Nope, just kidding. They opted out as well for the same reasons Britain did. And also, the US was cautious about supplying Israel with tanks after the 6-Day War because they wanted to avoid another conflict, which basically left Israel alone with no certain way to supply itself with tanks.
But don't worry, because you're able to supply yourself with tanks. The tanks you have seen in this video are not just CGI. They're real 3D models you can print yourself. You can find them on my Make World profile and support future animations through Patreon. Links in the description as always. Thanks for watching.
So in order for Israel to have a tank good enough to compete with the modern tank standards, they built their own, which became the first variants of the Merkava. Today's Merkava competes directly with America's latest Abrams variants. This Merkava, or chariot, was not supposed to be created. It was practically forced to be made by the rejection of tanks from Britain, France, and the US.